Have you wondered, is there a natural diuretic, a natural water pill? Well, in this episode of Veterinary Secrets, I'm going to be discussing the top 3 natural herbal remedies, that's 3, that could be used in place of the conventional diuretics. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. Also say hello to little Tula here, who I'm hoping will never need a diuretic. So this video is a little bit different. I'm actually discussing 3 herbal remedies that are actually surprisingly quite effective, yet little discussed, little known about them, that can be used in place of some of the conventional diuretics, things such as furosemide. I suspect many of you guys know what a water pill is, and I think any of you can imagine sort of having your ankle swollen or having edema. Or perhaps you've got a pet that's had, a dog that's had have had congestive heart failure, and secondarily to that, they can commonly get fluid building up in the airways within their lungs that can lead to coughing. There may be conditions related to the lymphatic system in terms of that's the related sort of network of vessels that goes throughout your body that takes away fluid out of in between the cells or in the interstitial space. And there may be issues with the lymphatics, maybe obstructed in some way that is causing swelling. Regardless, there's something going on within your dog or within your cat that's causing secondary fluid accumulation, secondary edema. And veterinary-wise, we're wanting to treat it because we know your dog or your cat is uncomfortable. They've got these specific signs and symptoms that may be making it more difficult for them to breathe because of all that fluid. So we're wanting to give them something to reduce some of that fluid. So let's say your dog is on furosemide, or known as a brand name Lasix. Maybe it's on another more expensive one, spironolactone, which is a potassium-sparing diuretic. And you're wondering, is there something else I can give? So first, before you go ahead and switch conventional medications for herbal ones, discuss it with your veterinarian. But for instance, in many of the cases, such as in heart disease, we're actually giving a diuretic just to help decrease the symptoms of the coughing, the fluid that's there. We're trying to get to the lowest effective dose. One of the problems with the traditional one, Lasix, is that it can also cause your dog or your cat to lose potassium, which can cause a whole host of other problems, such as weakness, etc. So they ended up being supplemented with potassium. But in some of the herbal remedies, they'll actually cause a diuresis, will eliminate some of that excess fluid, but not upset the electrolyte balance, so the potassium remains in the body, which is kind of ideal, which is what we'd want. So if little Tula here, later on, say she's started to have this cough at night, I take her in, we work her up, I diagnose her with, say, mitral valve disease or a type of heart disease, and I think she's requiring a diuretic. Right, the first thing I'll go to before I go to the traditional diuretic is a herb, and that herb is dandelion leaf. So here is dandelion leaf tincture here. A pretty, it needs to be the leaf, and most of the time when we're looking at dandelion tincture, this is actually a combination of most of the leaf and some of the root. Most of the tinctures of dandelion are actually the root, because that's got some of the other beneficial qualities used for liver disease, used for cancer. So you need to make sure it's the leaf, that's a diuretic portion. So, ask the pharmacy, the natural health store where you're getting it, making sure it's the actual leaf is part of the tincture. And then when you're looking at a tincture dose, you're looking at about a 1/2 ml, which is this dropper full. There's the 1/2 ml right there. And per 20 pounds of body weight, twice daily is a kind of standard amount. So that's what I would give to little Tula here. She doesn't need dandelion leaf tincture right now, so I'm not going to give it to her. And then you're going to do it, generally you're doing it giving it as needed. Initially it starts at a higher dose. As your dog responds, you sort of lower that dose down. So that would be the first one, the dandelion leaf tincture. The second herb, which happens to be in my hand, a wilted bouquet of herb, is parsley. And all the 3 I'm discussing today have studies backing them up, and I'll put some of those links into the description blocks below. So parsley, which goes by a fancy scientific name, it's the actual root of the parsley has shown to be a fairly effective diuretic once again. So if you're going to use it once again, you need to make sure it's the root of the parsley, not going to your grocery store and picking up parsley. And once again, you'd be using a tincture formation. I'd be using that similar dose where I'm using about a 1/2 ml per 20 pounds of body weight twice daily. The third herb which has been studied, actually been studied in people, goes by the name of horsetail. So in this one study using horsetail, they actually were doing it with volunteers, and they did a study where they used hydrothiazide, a very potent diuretic. They used an extract of dried horsetail, and it said that the people were given up to 900 milligrams of this dried extract. Third group were given a placebo, and they actually found that the group taking the horsetail had as much beneficial diuresis, so they got a removed equivalent amount of fluid as those that were on the hydrothiazide, so that, pretty strong conventional diuretic. So what I find interesting in all three of these cases, when I'm looking at those three herbs, they all both seem to be fairly effective diuretics. Secondly, they're pretty good at preserving the electrolytes. We're not losing potassium, which is happening with some of the conventional ones. So first of all, it makes me wonder why we're not using more of those herbs more often. I didn't know that dandelion leaf could be an effective diuretic, nor did I know that parsley root or even horsetail. I mean, it's not something we as veterinarians are taught. Thank you guys for watching this edition of Veterinary Secrets. I'd love for you to click up there to subscribe to my channel. Click down there to like this video. Click over there to sign up for notifications. And lastly, click that link directly in the box below. And when you do that, you sign up for my newsletter. I can send you my free books and my free videos on how to heal your pets at home with my top natural remedies.